Bitcoin, I'm not nervous. I'm the tech that changes what society is. I am money, I create freedom, and I'm limited, so I know what my worth is. I don't ask how high the fee is. I don't open, verifiable blockchain. Hashes and transactions, I find in my process. I verify what I'm handed, I trust what's commanded. But under the surface, I feel berserk like a keyboard warrior that's suddenly wordless. Under the surface, was Satoshi ever like, yo, I don't wanna fight big banks. Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can be of service. A bug or a hack, a line in the stack that breaks the camel's back. What breaks the camel's back? It's both of the fees that'll never stop. Whoa, users that'll leave till we just go bump. Whoa, give it to BCH, their blocks got bigger, and all we got was this damn ticker. Who am I if I can't scale with the bull? If I fall to payments that are slow, and they just won't go. Whoa, fees that'll grow till it's ready to blow. Whoa, give it to Satoshi, blockchain is stronger. See the users throw away the dollar. Who am I if I can't verify it at all? If I falter under the surface, I hide my nerves and it worsens. I worry a central chain will hurt us. Under the surface, the miners will leave. They need fees, lighting will kill this. Under the surface, I think about the white paper. Can we somehow preserve it? Line up Maxis, yo, electronic gold blows. Who can try to stop it tumbling? We're on it goes. But wait, if I could scale to support the whole world's transactions, would that free some room up for more developmentation or simple uses? Instead we measure this growing blockchain. Keeps growing, keep going, 'cause all we see is rising of the fees that'll never stop. Whoa, users that'll leave till we just go pop. Whoa, BCH is bit the original purpose. See why it can sustain all the miners it goes. Watch as Satoshi's design bends but never breaks. No mistakes, just fees that are low and sustainable. Whoa, blocks that can grow, 'cause we're ready to go. Whoa, come to Bitcoin Cash and never wonder when Blockstream's gonna pull you under. What's the point if not world currency? Low fees, big blocks, no mistakes, no pressure.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, Banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart Bcashers.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 146. Bugs.cash, an accelerating development featuring George Bence. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of March, 2022 or 2025. And George has dropped off the call. Maybe we'll just run back the intro because I already messed up as well too. So it is what it is. George, no. It was perfect. All right, here we go. All right. Let's just take to this bad boy. I think, George, you can still hear me? Give me a thumbs up.
I can hear you,
Okay. All right. Okay.
but I can't see myself.
Oh, you can see. only visible to me.
Yeah, I'm invisible. I could rejoin maybe.
No, leave it.
Okay.
Let Jet rejoin. But it every single time we always have some kind of small technical issue. That's why I was sus about, I was like, oh well, it's fine. We got plenty of time. We'll do the background, etc. No problem. But had to have something.
Okay.
Had to have something.
You want to run it back?
All right, we're still live.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's just do it again. give me a 3, 2, 1, and we'll do it.
All right. 3. Oh wait, let me click on. Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. The slots are all messed up now. Let me fix that real quick. And we're live.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 146, Bugs.cash and accelerating development, featuring George Bence. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of March, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, and the price is basically kind of stable. USD $323.30 per 100 megasats, down slightly. 1 BTC sat buys 260.1 BCH sats, which is down slightly. 1 ETH buys 614.2 megasats, which is also down slightly. So I guess really we're down slightly. Selene has 849 30-day users, and the Tokenaut TVL is at 21,808 BCH. Our guest today is the creator, programmer, and I guess all-star BCH contributor at Bugs.cash. We'll be hearing all about that in a moment. Welcome to the show, George. How did you get into Bitcoin?
Thanks, Jeremy. I think it was 2013, and I was actually like, I just started working and I got some money, and I was like, how does investments work? Shares and stuff. Maybe I should buy some shares and try buying and selling shares. And then I found out, well, it's a big hassle. You have to pay a lot of money, brokerage fees and things. And then I saw Bitcoin. A friend of mine told me about Bitcoin, and I was like, whoa, okay, this stuff I can just like log on to exchange and buy and sell it whenever I want. So I got me some of it just to like be able to trade it, and that got me into it. And then I was like, wait a minute, what is this? How does it work? And slowly I kind of realized more and more what it is. And eventually I went to a talk by Antonopoulos. He came to Cape Town, and I went to that show, and I was like completely sold, basically. So yeah, I started out by trading, basically, and I think that was like just after the whole Mt. Gox thing. So there was a lot of talk about Bitcoin is dead, and it's all over and stuff. And I got into mining. I think mining was the first thing I got into. After that, I mined some Darkcoin and some Dogecoin. I think Darkcoin later changed to Dash. I think it is the same coin.
Yeah.
I built a little mining rig with 3 graphics cards and bought like a massive fan and blew air onto it. Made a lot of heat. So I did the whole script mining thing. Unfortunately, I sold all the coins. My logic was like, if you want to speculate. If you want to do a mining operation, which works more like a business, like a farm kind of thing, you need to just like mine the most profitable coin, sell it, and then make your profit, and then you can speculate. So I didn't end up holding my coins that I mined. But yeah, I did quite a bit of trading, and eventually I wrote a trading like bot that I ran on the local exchange. It was called Bence back then, but it's called Luno now. And I made quite a bit of profit there because there wasn't any other bots doing it yet. So I just like looked up this like exchanges APIs, and I wrote a little thing that like pushed in front of everyone with orders, and it worked out the local markup, how much more expensive it is in South Africa compared to overseas. The dollar rand price, and there was always like a markup. So I traded around the markup, just like pushing in front of people, because when it was a small exchange. So if someone wanted to buy, it would push up the price, and if someone wanted to sell, it would push down the price. And I just like traded around means and averages. It's like I think a 5-hour or 8-hour average was like the best back then. But yeah, eventually that dried up. But yeah, I made some money there. And I think it was in 2015.
Hold up,
because I was like convinced.
Just a sec. We've got
Okay, no.
Jet. Oh, Jet, you're back. That's all good. That's all good. All right, crack on.
Yeah, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here.
This is good. Carry on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, where was I? 2015. Yeah, so the price started going up a bit, and actually it went up quite a bit back then. But there was still like crazy uncertainty about Bitcoin's future. Mike Hearn wrote that famous article of his, and back then I didn't really understand that much what was going on, but one of the lead developers was very negative about the future of Bitcoin, so much so that he moved on. And I was like, oh wait, I made all this profit. Let me take profit and make sure I'm not going to buy in again and lose it all, because that's typically what happens when you gamble. So I cashed out and bought a plot. But I could have bought like lots of plots now. I could have been like, yeah. But anyway, that's probably the story that most people will tell you. Something like, I had all these Bitcoins, and yeah, but yeah. Yeah. And then 2017 came and the split happened. So with the crypto I had left, I went like half, because I was like, I'll go with the side that wins. That's what was kind of what a lot of people were saying, like, there's no use in having two, so go with whatever wins eventually. But the big blocker side, I was more aligned with their ideas, because it made more sense to me. But I didn't necessarily then have the full picture, because I was spending my time writing bots and stuff. Actually, I started the game in 2017 because I took a bit of a sabbatical to actually work on these trading algorithms. But then I was a bit over it, and there was other bots like coming in as well, ruining the fun for me. If everyone's like if bots are one-upping each other, no one wins, kind of. It's like in Bugs.cash. If you just kill everyone, no one ends up having the BCH. The monster takes the pot. Yeah. So where was I? Bit all over the place. Yeah. So I was working on the game in between, and then with the split, I was like half, and then I moved over to BTC again, and then my sabbatical was over. I went back to work, and then at some point, when Michael Saylor showed up, like with this narrative of, oh no, Bitcoin isn't a digital peer-to-peer digital cash system. It's digital gold. And then I was like, okay. So yeah, that's the next step, is changing the narrative after step one has been completed. So I was like, yeah, strangely enough, Michael Saylor got me to sell my BTC, which is a bit, yeah. other way around, I guess, than most people. But yeah, and so I don't really have BTC anymore. I'm full on in Bitcoin Cash because the main reason is, like, if Bitcoin ever wants to fix their block size limit, which is a limiting factor on Bitcoin, they'd have to hard fork. And Bitcoin Cash is the first hard fork of Bitcoin to do that. And it will always be the first hard fork of Bitcoin to increase the block size cap. So with that logic, you know, Bitcoin Cash to me is the Bitcoin that works. So yeah, and that's it basically. I think that's the story. Then I just started focusing on work again for a few years and left the game. My server got recycled at a point because I didn't pay for it. I did actually take the game live, like an older version of it in 2019. And then I was a bit bummed when the server went down because I would have had to like set up everything again. And then beginning of last year, I decided, you know what, I need to incorporate Bitcoin Cash with this game because the game wasn't originally necessarily aimed at Bitcoin Cash. It was just I wanted to make a browser game. And then I found Dwellers in a Twitter, what do you call it, space, hosted by CypherCat. And he was like, yeah, he's into art and stuff, and he also would have wanted to make a game. And I told him about my game, and then we were like, but you know, eventually, like, maybe we should just work together and get this thing going. And yeah, so that got me very motivated, and I put in a lot of effort last year to enable that graphics. It's not like the game is built very much from scratch. Like it's not using some kind of game engine like Unity or so. I'm actually using just some software framework. I write in Java that a colleague of mine that I used to work with actually created. So technically, he's actually the other developer on the game. But you know, I've been developing the game. He wrote some, you know, libraries to interact with WebGL and to transpile, basically recompile the Java code to JavaScript, because what you have running in your browser is JavaScript. But the advantage of just coding in Java is I can code my backend in Java and my frontend in Java. So it's a lot easier to just keep track of in your head when you have these things talking to each other with WebSockets and stuff. And you have the game also plays off in the background on a server. It's like a client-server model, and each person connecting through their browser also has a game playing out in the browser. But you know, their browsers needs to communicate with the server. And the server always, you know, knows where everyone actually is, but it sends to all the clients, all the browsers connecting, all the information of all the players in the area and things like that. And
okay. Before we get to we'll get onto that, I do want to do a deep dive on Bugs. But firstly, like, just to dig into a few elements of your backstory, then tell me about this Andreas Antonopoulos talk. Like, how many people were at that? And like you said, it really sold you. I mean, people who are joining crypto now might not kind of understand, but Andreas is probably, you know, in the top. Maybe he's the second biggest Bitcoin evangelist of all time in terms of their impact. You know, like Roger Ver, probably number one, right? Andreas is probably number two, and then later on, you know, now we have like Saylor is the most known person for shilling it, right? But that's kind of like later. So adjusted for the exponential impact of being earlier, Andreas is probably the second biggest onboarder to Bitcoin ever, but he's been very quiet the last few years. So just give me some reflections. Like, what was it like? Did you meet him and stuff? Did you have any thoughts when he kind of went to the, you know, for the BTC option, although he didn't really trash talk BCH too much? Just tell me about Andreas. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, that was quite a while back as well. So, but I think there was like maybe 100 or 200 people there or something, or maybe it wasn't even that much. And yeah, he's a good speaker, and just had very good analogies and things, and made you realize, like, this might actually be the future of currency. And it kind of makes sense. I like that idealistic kind of view where, you can cut out the middleman, just the efficiency of it, where money isn't something managed by a central entity, but it's something that everyone can tap into and just exchange value instantly. I think that could actually be, very beneficial to the human race as a whole. Just the efficiency of it. I almost see it as if it's like people build tools to help them, and this might be the next tool in being able to transfer value. And I do think eventually, I think crypto is here to stay, but it might be a long road. Yeah, that's a separate topic. The whole thing of like limited supply and, people jumping in. Once you've got people using it, they gain the most advantage. If a small country or something actually starts using crypto, and then more and more piles on, that actually boosts the countries that started first. So I think it's inevitable. Somewhere there'll be some foothold that just starts growing. But yeah, that was like a side topic again. Back to your question, what was it about?
Andreas, so you did that Andreas talk. How many people were there? And then did you think afterwards, like I'm sure you would have followed, his journey, right? He was very vocal, even as the block size war kicked off. He didn't really take a side, he was very kind of cagey.
Yeah, I almost didn't mention the stuff, but he did say he'll just go with the side that wins because that makes sense, and then he didn't really mention much further. I guess he wasn't like the only reason I got like I also got colleagues at work, and we used to just like contemplate and think about crypto, and what it could mean and what it is and stuff. So it wasn't the only influence, but it was just something that stood out. If I think back, and yeah, I guess I didn't really follow him much after that. It was just like, spur of the moment thing, like, oh wait, this crypto speaker guy is here in Cape Town, and I didn't know who he was, and then went to listen, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, then you said about like Mike Hearn as well too, which is also just a super interesting case because he is probably still to this day most famous for his blog post, The Resolution of the Bitcoin Experiment, which he wrote in 2016, essentially when he'd had enough of dealing with the other core developers between him and Gavin trying to get a block size increase basically in the works and they were just stalling it, and then there was all the censorship and the whole community was melting down, and I guess being very involved in the middle of it, it all kind of got to a point where he was like, I've had enough. It's a very good blog post, by the way. I recommend everybody to read it. It's quoted in Hijacking Bitcoin quite extensively, if I remember correctly, but it's a great post. And the funny thing is now it's the same as like with Roger. All these people quote him and say, haha, look at this idiot. He was completely wrong, even though he was basically completely right. If you read all the points that he is making, and if you understand the context of the time that he said them, everything that he said was basically correct. But then people go, oh, haha, this idiot that rage quit Bitcoin and said it would be over. We still have Bitcoin now. 8 years later, haha, he was so wrong. But if you actually understand what he's saying, that's not what he was saying at all. He was saying the Bitcoin that he knew was kind of over, which was also not true because we still have BCH. And I think he would hopefully recognize that it's still alive. But it's just an interesting dynamic, where people reach a personal breaking point. Like, who knows what other circumstances in his life or whatever it was. Like, it's never been correct to say it's over, Bitcoin is over, I'm out. It's all done. Like, BCH is still here, the industry is still here. It always finds a way, despite people's personal opinions along the way, that it didn't go the way they imagined, right?
Yeah, and he might not have said anything about Bitcoin Cash, but Kevin Andreessen did. I think he said something along the lines of BCH is what he knew, is what he started working on in 2009. It is the Bitcoin that which I think says a lot, because he's the guy that Satoshi left the keys to the repo of the Bitcoin source code. So yeah,
we're still here. We're still plugging away, and so I think it's a shame that he then quit. But he was right about almost everything he wrote, and I am just still waiting for. I don't think it's probably even going to happen soon, but maybe in between 3 to 5 years from now, I expect that we'll be getting enough momentum that people like him will finally kind of come back. And then that will just be such a huge boost, because people don't, people are not equal in terms of all the 8 billion people on the planet. There are some people that if they get back into BCH would make a titanic difference, even just on their reputation, but also on their history with Bitcoin and understanding how it works. And, those kind of people who were onto it early and who are very, powerful contributors. I put a lot of stock in the fact that the original Bitcoin community was what made it a success. Perhaps if you'd had a different group of people, they would have fucked it up. Maybe we did fuck it up, but maybe they would have screwed it up more than we did. We wouldn't even have got as far. Maybe the whole thing would have shut down, or maybe there would have been, I don't know, some way that it didn't work out, right? So the influence of bringing those early people back is just titanic. But I expect we have to fix people's trauma, basically. For someone like Mike Earn, I assume, having not asked him, that he would have to see BCH is still the Bitcoin that he remembers having developed and so forth, but also that it wasn't going to happen again. Like, once burnt, twice shy, right? So I think today I was talking on Twitter to Steve Patterson, who was also, he's released Hijacking Bitcoin. I guess he maybe keeps a little bit of an eye on what is happening in BCH now, but he's also in that camp. He was saying, I'm more interested in my philosophy institute that I'm going to do. And so who knows where he's at, right? Which I just feel is a bit of a shame, but I also understand it, because it's very hard to convince someone. It's the opposite of, it's easy to fool someone and then it's harder to convince them they've been fooled. It's the same thing. It's easy to burn someone once, and then it's very, very hard to convince them to give it a second chance. So I don't know, if you have any thoughts on if we're likely to see that at some point.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard thing, because it's almost like Bitcoin is this once-off thing, and people are like, if it splits off, then it's not Bitcoin. But like I said earlier, Bitcoin Cash will always be the first hard fork of BTC to fix those problems. So luckily, Bitcoin Cash did win the other fork wars it had, and we are advocating still for the first fork of BTC. So if you'd be into Bitcoin SV or the other forks,
eCash,
eCash is like, then it starts. That starts illustrating your point, basically, that you're worried about. If these, say, for instance, we had to fork off, like Bitcoin Cash, the non-mega gigablocks size. Okay, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but yeah, Bitcoin SV basically went crazy big size on the block size, and the other fork had like payments for the dev, like within the block reward.
Yes.
So if basically if they forced us to fork off again, then I would have said, oh, this is a lot more bleak. But luckily they didn't. So in that sense, we are still like the first hard fork of BTC to fix the issue. And I actually think of it like there's a lot of other reasons to be in Bitcoin Cash, and like the whole hijacking Bitcoin book and things explains that. But just like to give a short reason, that people can't refute is literally that. It's like, oh, but this is already the first hard fork of BTC to just fix this block size limit that was put in to prevent spam, and any new fork that does that wouldn't be the first one anymore. So yeah, it's a
and
bit
they
weird
don't have
because
that execution risk. That's also what people, I think, misunderstand. Is there's still people today who say, "Oh, we'll just raise the block size. That's still going to happen, etc., etc." It's like you're just not thinking about things at the level of sophistication you need to have. It's not about technically, can we change the number? Are the devs good enough?
No.
It's about this. It's social. It's like,
Yeah.
how would you convince all the BTC people, who are all the ones who don't want it, that by definition, it was a filter. The people who did want bigger blocks already went into BCH, or they left somewhere else. That's it. So you're starting on BCH with the pool of people who were aligned on that same mission. And that's why, okay, maybe it had to happen once, like a kind of purifying fire, basically. Actually, it had to happen 3 times, really. But in a bigger context, you could say, well, maybe it happened thousands of times. Like the community is always changing, right? Some people stay in touch with it. Some people leave. Some people come in. Some new people join. And that's how the project organically develops. But the technology, quote unquote, so to say, that BCH has, that no other community has, is a proven history of surviving through those misalignments that other coins just do not have. The only other coin that has ever had a chain split has been Ethereum, right? That's the only one, ETH and ETH Classic. So ETH Classic are the only other ones besides BCH who have the proof that we could survive being the minority that, kept the original vision alive, right? And I don't know what they've been up to lately, but I don't see them taking over the world. I'm sad to say, but I like their ideology. It's the same as us, right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you'd be hard forking BTC now, then everyone would be getting these free airdrop coins that they'd just be selling, because that's what Bitcoin Cash had to go through, basically. So yeah, I think it's like you say, it'll be a lot harder second time around. There'll be at the block size war, at the split, it was a lot more uncertain than a lot of people realize. So yeah, any hard fork update to Bitcoin now will just have so much less support to start off with. So yeah, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, and its chance to convince people is also because, like you say, it was uncertain, but also since that was the first time it had happened, to be fair, ETH Classic had happened earlier, but that was under different circumstances. Since it was the first time it had happened, nobody knew, okay, could BCH come out? Well, it was just going to be BTC, right? But could the big block version be Bitcoin? And it was razor close. Like it was nearly did actually happen. BCH very nearly did actually flip BTC. It was number 2, had loads of momentum. Okay, then things didn't play out that way. But now, if you tried to do a split, people would already have that previous history and just say, okay, if you're the one making the change, by default, you're the minority fork. I think it would be so hard to contest the ticker and the liquidity on the exchanges, which is so critical. That would be virtually impossible, right? Which is why I think people who are trying to plan to do OpCat or CTV or any of these things, they really got to think through. Their best strategy is actually to do like a peaceful fork, to set a date, split off, just say we're going to be Bitcoin, Bitcoin 2.0 or whatever, and just go like that. If they try and like a hostile takeover, which is what we tried to do, and then learned the hard way that we weren't able to do it. If they try and do that, it's just not gonna. The inertia is too high, but they seem to think that they can overcome that. But they should actually just do a peaceful split, and then over the course of 2 decades, grind their way up to flipping BTC. That's what I would do if I was in their position and I was too stupid to realize I should defect to BCH, right? So, but I don't think that's not what's going to happen. People always think that they can change it, right?
It's almost like the narrative that Bitcoin Core had to come up with to basically take control of Bitcoin was that hard forks are bad. So how are they going to undo that? It's so installed into people, like, no, if it's a hard fork, it's not Bitcoin anymore.
Yes.
So okay, then Bitcoin's doomed, I guess. But that's not something that that's something that people just decided. That's the weird thing. It's not a technical issue. It's just people decided that. Why did they decide that? Because
the censorship
they were told some
is the
things
answer.
that
Exactly. The censorship, the authority figures. That's what carries the day, basically. It's sad to say, but that's how a lot of people operate, and somewhat understandably. I think it's been very interesting on this show. I ask every guest, "What's your Bitcoin story? How'd you get into Bitcoin?" And the amount of answers is a huge range. People come in at different times. They come in with different backgrounds. They come in for different reasons. Some they get involved and stay involved. Some they're kind of in and out. Some are influenced by some people or other people. You can just hear, even on this show, which is already filtered for a more homogenous sample of people who are understanding BCH in the year 2025. You're already getting a huge mix of things, and it really just goes to show why those disinformation attacks were so successful, because people are already starting at a completely big mix of different opinions and points of view. So if you can fragment that even further, it's just chaos.
No, at the very least, if there's an attempt to hard fork upgrade BTC, some people will say, no, then it's not Bitcoin. And then that would cause people to look into this. Like, oh, but why do you want to do this? Is Bitcoin not perfect? Why is it not perfect? And then it's like, oh, but they've already got the upgrade. It's Bitcoin Cash, So the harder they push for the fork, the better BCH will just do while that fight is happening on the side there, because people are going to be like, okay, but, it's already here. Like, so at least some people will be buying into BCH in a scenario like that. So BCH's price would like at least be stable, but probably go up, and BTC would have uncertain times, which would probably like cause lower prices. So a scenario like that is actually good for Bitcoin Cash.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really hoping that we've just been watching it play out in slow motion over the last couple of years as people have slowly got a little more antsy and a little more like, now there's even starting to be like, Bitcoin Core sucks. That was against the orthodoxy for a long time, but now NOTS is growing, not massively, but a little bit, because people feel like they're making a sort of protest voice. All in on Luke Jr.'s vision for BTC is like probably even worse. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't in that regard, I'd say. But anyway, they've got that, and then nobody else has seriously published an alternative client and been working on it, but they keep sort of talking about it, although that is their problem. They're all chat and no code,
For years and years.
Years and years. Okay, all right. And then you said as well, so Dweller's Art, I want to give a shout out to Dweller's Art, who you said has been collaborating with you. And that's just another excellent example of people linking up with the network effect in the community. So I don't know if you want to just explain a little bit more about how you got onto that collaboration, or how you think, you know, people should be able to find each other within the BCH scene for these kind of projects.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I just randomly joined this Twitter space of CypherCat, and I think it was like Dweller, me, and CypherCat that was just like chatting there, and we were basically chatting like we're chatting now. And then I was like, "Oh, I made this game. I'm wondering if I should like incorporate Bitcoin Cash payments into it." And then Dweller was like, "Oh yeah, that would be so awesome." And then like time actually went by a bit, and then he actually made some art, some animations for the Bitcoin Cash Foundation for Cheapy. And there was this this Bitcoin Cash like coin popping up into the air and spinning. And I saw that, and I was like, that's what I need for like when you pick up Bitcoin Cash in the game. And then I saw, oh wait, it's the same guy I chatted to in that space, and then we connected and then we started. So yeah, that's the story, I guess.
Yeah, these things take time, you know, but it's really, again, that's just another whole thing about the network effect, is that it's all between humans, and that kind of trust takes time. And even just that recognition of, usually when you see something the first time, it's the same principle in advertising or marketing or anything, you know, they don't put up those billboards of whatever hamburgers because they think you're going to see that and immediately go and buy a hamburger. No, it's in your mind, and then you see it 3, 5, 10 times on a different screen, different ads, different place. And then when you're hungry and you're walking past the burger place, that's when you go in and buy a burger, right? And it's the same dynamic for trust building up within the BCH community, which is why things are now, which we'll talk about in just a second, really starting to ramp up, because we've now had approaching 4.5 years of stability, which is long enough for that group of people to be more and more connected and have working relationships and so forth, and know, okay, this guy is serious about BCH. He's not just going to vanish next week. So if I want to do an actual big project with him, or pay him to do something, or him pay me, or do a collaboration, or whatever it is, then you know you're like building on rock. You're not building on sand that's going to just slip away, because that's the worst. If you get, you know, a couple months into something and somebody goes offline, gets busy with something else, the money vanishes, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating and demotivating. But now we're at the point that if you look into it a little bit, or if you're involved, you can easily see who is here and who is consistently putting up good work, and you can just collaborate with them. So tell me about Bugs.cash. So for people who don't know, my brief summary is it's a browser-based multiplayer battle game. Like you said, you built it from scratch. You just go on Bugs.cash and you can try it out yourself. You play as a little green bug and you run around and you can shoot out your like bullets, which I guess come from the nectar, which is the like food, the little honey that you pick up. And then you can spend that on building nests. It's actually quite an involved game, to be honest. It's actually a lot. When you released it in the MVP phase, it already has a lot of different dynamics. And then you can walk around. You have to find other people's nests and destroy their nests, and also their little allied bugs that they can spawn out of their nests as well too. And then from all that, you're trying to pick up the nectar. And then as you're destroying things, you can also earn BCH, because sometimes it gives you a little BCH reward. And then it gets to a certain point where there's the monster. You can do a better job of explaining that than me. And then you all have this big battle with it, and then the game ends. And so it's actually really fun. I recommend everybody should try it out and play it. And hopefully we'll have some a Fifth of Gaming tournaments and such coming up at some point too, because that would be awesome. But it's also a way for people that can just get involved and play this and earn BCH as a faucet without needing to start off with anything. Like anybody can just spend 10 minutes on their browser playing around with it. So it's very clever in that onboarding mechanism. And as it gets more popular, really help to introduce people to the community, because it's also just fun and cool. So walk me through the game there. What did I miss?
Yeah, I guess where should I start? I'll start where I started with the game. So I like, I've always wanted to make like a game kind of like this, where you can climb into a building and oversee like little AI things walking around and doing things. And my idea was almost like you could change the coding. Like, this is like way back. You could like almost code in what the bug should do. So that's where I got that idea. And I started off the game just with like, getting 2 bugs going. Oh, the reason why I went with bugs is because I thought that would be the easiest for me to draw in paint, because stickmans would be harder to draw.
Well, it's a good theme, because it reminds me of like the Zerg in StarCraft.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it all fits really nicely, because it already has, you already think of like little bug aliens as attacking each other and spawning out of nests and stuff, right? It's quite intuitive with that background.
Yeah, so I'm a StarCraft 1 player, so that's definitely got some influence there. And the next thing I thought is, well, I need to make it impactful if you kill someone. I like games where there's this kind of real-time feedback where you can be tactically better and like outmaneuver someone, but there needs to be kind of a way to escape as well. And that's where it comes in with, like, you walk around as a bug and you can shoot other people using your nectar. But the more you carry, the fatter you get, the slower you walk. But the more you carry, the more damage you do. So you can always escape a better player by just dropping all your nectar and running away. So I was thinking of those mechanics for very long while starting out, to try and find something that was hopefully like fun to play with multiple ways of playing it. And like I said, I wanted if you die that you like lose, well, originally basically all your stuff, but later I changed it to just lose half of what you have when you die. So there's a risk in dying. And you can build a nest, crawl into a nest, and then let the computer build these underlings for you. This is basically this little minion guys that fight for you, and you can set them to gather. That's the automatic mode that they're on by default. So they bring in more nectar to your nest that you can use to either build more nests or shoot or other people and things. Or you can send them to attacking or following. So when they follow you around and they can heal you and stuff. So that's kind of the other aspect that I thought of, like, oh, okay, maybe you want to play the game not as someone running around shooting people, but you want to just hide in nests. So I wanted that kind of style of playing to work as well. But it can't just be that easy. So I decided to make the points pop out of things when they die. So you would still need to climb out of your nest and manually go pick up any spoils that your underlings killed. You can gain points, or there's stat points that makes your guys stronger, but there's also randomly sometimes a bit of Bitcoin Cash that spawns. And you can shoot things, kill things for that to pop out of them and then pick that up. Or if you just set your underlings to gathering, eventually they'll pop out of your nest. So you can actually just kind of hide in your nests a bit as well. And like you said, after you've collected 30 of these Bitcoin Cash tokens, they're worth a different amount depending on the game and the payout. But anyway, if you collect 30 of them, it triggers this monster to come. and that just kills everyone. But yeah, it starts off like fairly strong, and it just gets stronger and stronger until basically you die. So there's no end to the monster, and it's quite often.
Can you
ends
not
up
defeat the monster? I thought it was possible to defeat the monster.
You can, but then another
can.
one comes, then monster level 2
Oh.
comes, and then monster level 3 comes. So you can try and
Okay.
get the highest you can get. And there's a chance for the monster to have a relic.
So you have to cash out your BCH before the monster just wrecks you.
Yeah, you have to survive for 5 minutes. And the
5
timer
minutes, okay.
resets when someone kills a monster. So if everyone kills a monster all the time, then this monster is just getting stronger. And once people can't kill it anymore, when it walks over your Bitcoin Cash after it killed you, it actually takes your Bitcoin Cash and then no one gets it. So it's kind of like the house. If you get too greedy, the monster just comes and takes everything.
Yeah, because I love, like you said, it's a very unique game, I guess, because you didn't sort of necessarily base it off another game. People, when they make a game, they just clone a better known game. But it has these very unique elements where it starts out as it's kind of like it's not a first person shooter. It's more like a third person shooter where you're running around and you're trying to fight against either the minions, the underlings of the other guys, or you're trying to, like you said, like dog fighting, basically 1v1, where you're trying to outmaneuver them and shoot them until they die and take their BCH. So I like that. And then it also has a kind of chess/civilization element to where you're building up like an RPG, more where you're producing your nests, and then I'm sure there's a lot that can be expanded about that in the future, because also you could build walls, or you could build like turrets or different things. So you're kind of trying to play these two different games at the same time, like you said, where you're trying to build up your little civilization, kind of your little colony, your ant colony, your bug colony, and then you're also trying to maneuver out, a 1v1. And then there's also the phase with the monster as well at the end. So it's actually quite interesting to play, because you have these three different phases and you're trying to balance those concerns. So when I first started playing it, it took me a little while to realize it was that complicated. And then as I got more and more into it, I was like, wow, this is so cool. You can do all these different things. So I've been absolutely enjoying playing it. How's your initial reception been with I played it before it was technically launched, but it's now in sort of public launch, and even the servers got full when I tried to play it the other day, right? So it's
might have been a bug.
Been popular. Bugs.bugs, yes.
There's there's a lot of people. Well, okay, there's probably like 5-6 players playing right now. So there's always someone playing. But what amazed me is some players play a lot and often, so that's good news, I think. That means it's not like I have a lot of players but people are just coming and leaving. There's a lot of players that stay behind and keep playing. Maybe that's also got a bit to do with the fact that they get some Bitcoin Cash. But I think it's not only that. So yeah, I'm feeling good about that. And you mentioned earlier the cashing out, like getting new people into Bitcoin Cash by maybe the game, and that's also the way I thought of it. So I could have made my game basically into a wallet where you have your balance and then you transfer it out. Well, that's kind of how it works, except once a month when the season ends, if you haven't claimed your BCH, it gets recycled. So I'm not sure if I should make that more clear. Where are we now? Like the first, 12 o'clock UTC on the 31st of March. If you haven't claimed your BCH, it's just going to go back to the reserves. And if you don't have an account, that happens daily. But anyway, the idea is that you don't keep it in Bugs.cash. It's some Bitcoin Cash you can use elsewhere in the ecosystem and explore and find find ways to use Bitcoin Cash, and maybe some people like ask like, oh, what is this? It looks like it's working. Maybe I should, buy some of this cryptocurrency, or so that was the idea there as well.
And so tell me, with the money that people are earning, it's BCH. Obviously, it's like small amounts, but if it's small amounts, as more people are playing, that could add up, right? So there's got to be a sort of business element to this. Where is the funding coming from for that? Is there a way that people can, have a paid version to upgrade? Like, I can get my bug in pink instead of green, or like, what's the monetization plan around that?
So if you donate, I think 0.001 BCH, I think it's about $0.3. Does that make sense? Yeah.
30 cents,
yeah. Then you get some stat points, and you get like 25% chance to get a relic. So it is a bit pay to win in that sense. But if someone pays to win and you kill the guy that paid to win, then you steal his stuff, and then he paid for you to win in essence. But I'm not sure if that's going to really bring in enough to support the reserves. So yes, that is basically, Bugs.cash is kind of a BCH faucet. If the reserves run like end up getting depleted, then the game transitions into a mode where it just drops points. It's instead of a Bitcoin Cash icon, it's like just a little P, and you still get a rating. You can still get all your stuff in the game, but then there's just no more BCH payout. So yeah, it kind of the faucet component kind of relies on people donating, and there has actually been some people donating. There's a guy named Jabber. He donated half a BCH, and Devin donated 0.1 BCH. So that's kind of what the reserves have been running on the last 2 weeks. But yeah, so the idea is that maybe people in the community will top it up every now and then, but not just like little amounts. The idea is not to like, I'm not asking people to donate like lots of BCH. It's literally just like have a look every now and then, and if it's running low, like put maybe 0.1 or 0.05 in or something, I don't know, so people can gather some BCH again. Otherwise, it would, like you say, it's not a winning business model. So,
no, but it could be. This is where I'll sponsor it as the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Maybe we can figure out a deal. I'll put some cash into it, and then you get, when the loading screen, it just has sponsored by the Bitcoin Cash podcast for a couple seconds.
I can do that.
To me,
that's a good idea. Maybe I should make a sponsor list, and then if there's people that want to like be more permanent donators, or not anonymous, so it can be like advertising as well. Another idea I had for me to make money off of it is maybe separate. I thought like, if I actually have a lot of people using this game, then I can bring adverts in, but not in a bad way, in a way where if you respawn, maybe it asks you like, do you want to respawn with 10 extra nectar? Then you need to watch this 10-second video or something like that.
Or just paying BCH just immediately. Like, you can have respawn in 30 seconds, or you can just send some BCH and then boom, you're straight back.
That's another one.
Like,
that's another one.
I don't have time to wait around to freaking respawn.
Well, a lot of people don't realize if you're dying all the time in the game, you can just quit quickly and buy yourself some relics and rejoin and go kill the guys. So it's kind of possible at the moment, but yeah. So that's already in, but I just thought like if some people play it, that's not, I've been only really advertising it in the BCH community, but there's like Crazy Games all these IO games platforms. I'm still fixing some issues in the back end, but eventually I'll like start advertising it there as well, and maybe a lot of people, they don't care about the BCH. Maybe some of them do, but some of them don't, and then they just watch a video, and that also helps sponsor the servers that needs to be paid in the back end and stuff.
So it's you and one other guy you said who's making the framework that then you're using to make the game specifically, and then you've got dwellers helping out with some of the artwork. So, and I mean, there's so much room for this as well, too, in terms of you can have different maps. Maybe you could have a pro map that, costs 50 cents to play on, but then, I don't know, it has a cooler design or different features unlocked or something. I mean, I just think this is such an awesome concept, because there's play to earn type of gaming is a known thing in crypto. But you have built this all completely from scratch, which I know is a huge effort and it takes a lot of work to do. But it's like we've done with Celine or with the podcast. When you start something yourself and you just do it your own way, it takes ages to get any kind of MVP and initial momentum. But then once you do, the sky is really the limit, because you're not as locked in by whatever other tooling you use or whatever somebody else thinks would be good. You can literally just listen to your users and just iterate on that, right? So you don't have necessarily any VC investors telling you what you got to do or anything like that. So I just think the potential here is so high. And the team, though, you've got those 3 people kind of working on it a little bit. Is there anyone else involved in this, or it's you 3?
There was someone else that worked on the terrain graphics, like the craters and the rocks and stuff. That's Nikki Sillier. It's all on like the main loading screen, the credits, and the music is Gateway 721. It's not very well known person, but like I just asked him if I can use his music. That was like years ago. And I told him I'm making a game, and he was like, "Oh, no, this is so cool! Someone's going to use my music or something." And then he checked out the game and was very impressed, because that was like 6 years ago, and then I didn't hear from him again. But anyway, I'm still using his music.
No, amazing. And with the actual mechanics of the game, can you give any? I don't know. Do you have any future development plans in that respect, right? Like that's already quite a complicated game, to be honest. I feel like maybe some more like it does help you as you're playing a little bit, but some more tutorials and explainers. That's something like, well, I could do it, or somebody else, somebody like Paul or CM Works or Pantera, people who are making videos could make a tutorial on Bugs.cash how to play it. Like that would be actually really helpful.
I actually also want to make a tutorial as well for claiming through Celine Wallet. Just like how to and put that under I've got a witness menu. Put all the tutorial kind of things. I definitely have plans for more relics and some other buildings and things eventually. But there's so many ideas. Another idea that I have that I want to work on is with NFTs. That'll still be a while in the future. So my idea is that like every week, for instance, at like a Saturday or something, the monster drops an NFT. Or there's a chance that the monster drops an NFT, but it's going to repeatedly have the chance to drop the NFT until someone actually claims it. And then that's a Bugs.cash NFT that maybe gives you a free relic once a week or free stat points once a week. So the thing is, if you own the relic, you can use it, but you can also sell it to someone else because they know they would be able to use it again at least the next week. That's usually, the thing with NFTs. Yeah. Anyway, so the idea is that it's not something that you can only use once. So it kind of has value, resale value, and maybe that can then be sold on the token market or something. Another idea I had is maybe use something like the honey you get from badgers. maybe you can get
Yes.
each point of honey is
Yes.
nectar, and you need to
Now we're
burn it to get the
cooking.
nectar. So
Now we're cooking.
yeah, the thing with this whole like cash tokens and things, the power in it is being able to kind of have a voucher that's valid on some other platform, and they know it came from that platform, so now they can give you something back. So it's this kind of decentralized tokens, I guess. And but to be able to actually have a use for tokens, first you need something like a game or some service, or like those nano guys had that AI platform, I think, where you can pay for. You need something that people want, or a game or a service that they can actually use the tokens in to actually get a reward. Otherwise, it's just kind of
It's just meme coin
money
gambling,
feeding into
basically.
itself.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, and this is where, I'm also trying to look out for, things, because we have the Jessica and the Velma NFTs as well too, and so they also were created. It's not just a picture; it's like that's a ticket to come to the event, to come to Bliss. But then we did the airdrop with the Furu tokens to people, so that's one thing we've experimented with, and I'm sure we'll probably do more of that in the future. But you can have your Jessica, and I think probably your Velmas too. By default, it would work the same, right? I haven't seen anybody with that, but I think you can on BCH Gurus, and it would be so cool, like as well with Bugs, because you're building a little civilization. If I could have my wallet connect to my wallet, and then if I had my NFT, I could have like a little flag on my nests or something, or like if I could take over territory and slowly like paint my NFT onto the ground so that everybody knew I was the boss. That would be awesome.
That's one of them. That's basically the first thing I'd do once I've got like Cash Connect going, is a kind of a spray paint when you kill someone or something, that it like goes on the floor.
So you can swag on them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you can select your NFT, but it needs to be one that you actually have.
That would be so badass, because then you could have the Jessicas, the Velmas, like BCH Gurus, or whatever else other people are doing. I would absolutely love that. And what about, obviously it being a game and all, have you talked to David Shattuck at A Fifth of Gaming? I feel like this is a collaboration waiting to happen. The two of you need to get, he's already got some funding going as well for his thing. So you should chat to him and say, David, pay me some money and we'll host a Bugs tournament. We'll promote it a little bit. We'll get things going there, because I would definitely play in that, some kind of Bugs tournament, or open session or so. How many different people can you have maximum, by the way? Because in a game you can already have 8 in one game, but what if more than 8 people are playing at one time? It does
get chucked into
more
a
games.
new instance.
How many instances can you have? Unlimited?
Like, I don't
Eventually
know
your
yet,
servers
because I
would
haven't
die.
pushed the boundaries. So I put in a limit of like 10 instances for now.
Okay.
I can't remember what the actual limit is.
So you can have 80 people at least at one time. That's a lot.
Yeah, but I just haven't tested it yet, so I don't know.
Is there
And
a
at
reason
some
with
point-
8 people, like in one game, if we made a battle royale with 50 people, but maybe on a different map, a bigger map? Is that possible?
It's possible, but I'd have to make some coding changes to enable that. The maps are randomly generated, and I actually started off with much bigger maps. And the mazes was just like terrifying. When you're not in a nest and you can't see where you're going, you just end up in these dead ends and you need to turn around, and it's like a circle. And that was crazy. And you couldn't really find anyone. And if the monster comes, it's like in a corner. So it didn't really work. But I'm keen on getting a mode like that out there. But it would probably be like a continual game or something where, where you can like go away. That's also ideas I had previously of how the game could work. I don't know if you noticed, you can just rejoin the game by going back to the browser. You type in Bugs.cash into your browser and it loads. So if you've closed your browser but you haven't quit the game, you can just load it up again and it'll load you back in. So Yeah, I was thinking of having this longer kind of game where you would maybe like build some nests and then go away and come back and see, look, I took over this area and stuff. But yeah, it's I mean, I'm talking a lot in the air now. There's so many possibilities, and everything actually takes time to code. So you have to
I
kind
know.
of hone
yeah.
into some specific ways in which the game works. There's in the short term, I'd rather work on. There's this. I'm not going to give too much away, but there's this parasitic relic that I'm.
Okay. Sounds awesome. But yeah, I definitely think with David Shattuck, because that's the thing. These are two custom built BCH services. So you can literally integrate directly. You could have a little tournament pop up on Bugs that was coming directly from him, that then people could just jump on the slots, and the AFOG would take care of making it all up into a bracket, paying people into the tournament, paying out the winner afterwards, etc. I could see that would be so cool. And if that was going to run, if there was and then obviously you can automate it all too. So then you could just have a tournament that runs once an hour or once every 3 hours or once a day, whatever.
Yeah.
And then start promoting that between the two of you. I would be so onto that for a daily half-hour Bugs. I probably wouldn't play every single day, but that would be so cool if people knew what time it was at as well too. And then we can sync it up with the bank run, 1st and 15th, have a mega Bugs battle royale with all the fresh BCH that we've withdrawn off exchange. You can just see it all coming together, right?
So yeah, I'm a bit unsure what changes would have to be in Bugs.cash to enable that. Basically nothing, because a fifth of gaming is basically like this platform where you can report back and say, oh, this guy won, so he's getting the pot. It distributes Bitcoin Cash to the winners on that separate platform. But I'm already doing that in the game as well. So it's unfortunately a bit clashing in that sense, but you can definitely, create
well, you just create a link, where you're requesting from him, create a tournament. He sends you back here the QR codes to the 8 people. You display them one by one. The people pay in, and boom, like there you go.
Yeah. Well, we definitely need to chat about that.
Maybe I'm so excited.
Yeah, maybe some kind of game mode where where you need to join via game code or something. It's like a private game rooms. That's maybe what I need to enable that better. So that some random people don't just come and spoil it for the people actually participating, because that's how Bugs.cash is set up at the moment. It's just like a free for all. Anyone joins into this one thing. So yeah, I'd have to have little game rooms with a code that you can join a specific game, and maybe make it a longer game or something.
Yeah, tweak a few more settings, and anyway, I think that's it. Anything more you want to shout out or highlight or something about Bugs before we move on? But obviously, everyone should go try it. Just go on your browser, go right now. You can play it right now while you're listening to the show. Bugs.cash and just try it out on Chrome.
Chrome works
it's best on Chrome.
Yeah. Not that I can think of now. Well, I've got some shout outs and things, but do I leave that for?
We'll save it at the end. Save it to the end then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As long as you feel like we've covered all the main bits of that, and look out for a 5th of gaming tournaments soon. That's going to be sick. I'm so keen for that. Okay. Now we got other news this week. You're not the only one pumping out the code. We're really starting to see things get rolling in the BCH community. Is this maybe the first show that we've ever had where we're going to have just 3 straight up slides of just projects that the BCH community is pumping out? Like, this is all in the last week. You announced Bugs a week or 2 before, but we've got that. We scheduled the show, and then we've got 2 more this week. So you can really see things are ramping up in the BCH community. General Protocols have put out the first snippets of their XO project. Last year, we had it on the show where we reviewed the announcement video, which was very hype. I can't remember what episode that was, but we're now getting, 6 months later, they're now actually starting to put out some of the results of it. So their first thing that they've released is called stack.xo.cash, and it's a website with some technical documentation. So it's tools to make it easier to build BCH apps, basically. So for stuff like converting Bitcoin denominations between Satoshis and whole Bitcoins, between different types of addresses, cash tokens addresses, non-cash token addresses, chipnet addresses, testnet addresses, all that kind of stuff. And I was actually quite impressed by this, because even though this release so far is quite, simple, it looks great, and two, it's very similar to some of the stuff that we've had to build for Selene. So if we had this 1 year ago or 2 years ago, it would have saved us a bunch of work. So I'm very confident that new people starting up apps in the BCH scene will be saved a lot of time that we had to spend building these little widgets ourselves, basically, to just be able to fire this up and just use it. It will already be tested and nicely formatted, and it will all just work. And this is obviously just the first sort of teaser, the first slice of it. And there'll be more complicated stuff coming soon, I assume, like transaction templates, maybe an inbuilt, wallet that just very easily, instead of having to, like me, spend two years making a whole wallet, instead you just want to be able to go new BCH wallet.send, here's an address, wallet.receive, here's an address, right? And I'm sure that will start to be built out as time goes on. So I can really see that this is just, we have the nodes, we have libauth, we have CashScript for some more of the technical contracts. Now we have XO. Things are really going to start accelerating as new devs arrive, and they don't need to build tooling. They can just build apps, right? So tell me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's General Protocols, right? The company behind it. That's building the XO stack, right? Yeah. No, that's pretty awesome. They've got a running product, the BCH Bull, that they built on. Well, first they created the
AnyHedge stuff,
yeah,
and the native
AnyHedge
introspection upgrades, yeah.
And that was for everyone to use, but no one stepped up, and then they just stepped up themselves and made a business out of it. So that's really awesome that they're like feeding back into the system and building tools for everyone to use. It makes sense because, that their business runs on Bitcoin Cash. So I think it's very good that it's really awesome that they are planning on doing this. And I like the thing with the wallet templates. I think who was it? Emergent Regions, I think, talked about that in one show. That sounds really awesome. That a wallet can see, can detect the contract and know this contract is a BCH Bull contract, or it's don't worry, it's just a contract to do something on, to verify yourself on Bugs.cash, so that your wallets can actually show to the person using it that the wallet understands the transaction, at least. So it's not some random transaction that you're signing. It is something that the wallet at least, sees as legitimate.
Knows, yeah.
Or knows.
It's protecting you.
Yeah.
And then it can also give you more details about it. This is how it all works, and etc. So that, because what's going to happen is, this is the kind of stuff that other cryptocurrencies don't have, and they're not even close to having, honestly. So as things get rolling in BCH, we'll be producing products and services which are more advanced than end users are used to. It's already hard enough for some people. Okay, we're using Bitcoin Cash, and they have all these assumptions about PayPal, and then that's all out the window when they're using Bitcoin Cash, right? But even for people who are already on board with BCH or crypto understand mostly how it's working, then it's going to be like even more complicated than that. It's going to be like, oh, your wallet can just automatically connect to this and automatically just use your NFTs, like you were saying, from one service in another service. And it's going to all get like very overwhelming very fast. So it's going to be very helpful if the wallets themselves know what these things are and then can say, oh, here's this and here's an explanation of how it works. And if you have any questions, go to this link and read more, or talk to the people in Telegram here or whatever, right? So I'm so excited about this, because by probably the start of 2026, I'm expecting BCH app building is just really going to start like going crazy. This needs a little bit more time to cook, but CashScript is already getting widely recognized in the industry as like amazing. We already have LibAuth, which is amazing, but it's just a bit hard to use. And, the network effect of this is going to be crazy. So yeah, good job to the GP guys, and looking forward to more from that. Okay, we've got another release as well this week from the Paytaka guys. So we've got a little video explaining here that they put out. It's the beta of their payments hub solution, and they also said they're working on a WooCommerce WordPress plugin. So let's have a listen to this promotional video.
Meet Paytaka Payment Hub, the smarter, faster way to accept Bitcoin Cash online. In this video, we will create an invoice and pay with BCH. First, select the reference currency you set your amounts in. Put in the Bitcoin Cash address of the recipient and set the amount in the reference currency. You may set an optional description for this recipient. Then, submit the form. You have the option to add another recipient. Let's say you own a multi-tenant e-commerce platform and you want to charge a fee for every paid order. You can collect this fee separately as a second recipient. A transaction memo field is required. This is where you want to put something like an order or booking ID. Enter a webhook URL, an endpoint on your site to receive payment details. If provided, Paytaka Payment Hub will send a post request with the transaction ID, amount, and timestamp upon successful payment. Now we are ready to create the invoice. Just click on the Create Invoice button. This will create and load the invoice page. As you can see, the BCH amounts were computed per recipient based on the current exchange rate. The system automatically generates one extra recipient to receive the Paytaka fee. This fee is deducted from the first recipient. A programmatic way to create invoices is also possible, so you can integrate this to your site or app. Let's try now the provided sample Python code to create an invoice. Sample codes for JavaScript, PHP, and raw curl command are provided. It's basically just making a post request to an invoice creation API endpoint. You can set the same fields, the currency, recipient's address and amount, and transaction memo, just like the manual form I demonstrated earlier. There you go. The API endpoint has responded with a success flag. From there, you can obtain the payment page URL where you can redirect your user to. The invoice page, by the way, displays a button on mobile screens that when clicked will open any Bitcoin Cash wallet that recognizes the payment URL. So there, having demonstrated how to create the invoice page manually and programmatically, let's proceed to pay with BCH. Here, I'm using Paytaka app on my phone. I just scan the QR and swipe the button to complete the payment. And we're done. Invoice has been paid. Thank you for listening.
I love this. I absolutely love this, because what we're seeing as well here is this is the sort of merchant adoption side of things, but also online payments. I'm sure it will be used for quite heavily. And this is what Bitcoin was all about. It's kind of crazy to me that we're now 16 years into Bitcoin, and this should have been made in like year 2 or year 3, But between obviously how messy adoption is and the splits and back and forth and different people's different business models and yada, yada, yada. For whatever reason, we didn't just get to slick looking, easy to integrate online payments that all just work until now. And Paytaka have been just crushing it in the Philippines, and they're putting out so much good stuff. And now they're putting out this invoice and payment stuff as well too. So this is where I feel like BC, we can even see it in the three things that we have here today, right? We've got the Bugs.cash, custom built gaming, kind of interesting way to get people into BCH. You've got the tooling stuff for even more further apps, and then you have the actual peer-to-peer cash payments stuff with the Paytaka Payments Hub. We're doing a bit of everything at once, and it's all starting to come together. So I personally was super impressed by this, and I'm really looking forward to paying some more online invoices with it. What do you make of the Paytaka delivery recently?
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Oh, my mic. Yeah, but Paytaka seems to be doing pretty well in the Philippines. So it's really cool that they're building stuff and, sharing. It's almost the same as general protocols, It seems like once a company has a working business model, they're incentivized to build things for the ecosystem that other people can use because it feeds back into their business as well. So it's really awesome to see that. And hopefully it just, slowly and steadily grows until it grows faster, I guess. But yeah, I'm amped.
It's going to be an exponential. Is it just me that finds it kind of, it's a little bit shocking, but also not, that we're in 2025 and this is just now being built? Like, I mean, obviously the generation before this was like, Coinbase and BitPay, they were started in 2012, and I feel like this is what they should have made. Obviously it's not what they ended up making. They ended up making speculating exchange and KYC bullshit with 50 different coins, whatever. But I feel like the first time I heard about Bitcoin, or that anybody heard about it, this is what you would imagine we'd be getting. But it just wasn't there until now. And it just goes to show sometimes it's just the same with like Selene wallet. I'm like, why did nobody make a Selene wallet until we had to start it in 2022 and have it be good by 2025? But anyway, that's it. BCH is absolutely crushing it at the moment. In fact, we're doing so good that we have started to turn heads in the rest of the industry. So up next, which is the conference by Blockspace Media, have announced their day 2 talk schedule. Well, they announced their entire schedule a couple of days ago, but I was most interested in the day 2 talks. So have a listen. These are the topics: a history of forks, Goldie blocks, capabilities, opcodes, and magical thinking, modeling Bitcoin's block size constraints, and reimagining the BIPs process. So these are the BTC guys are basically doing a day of proto BCH talks. I posted about this and joked about it, that it was the Bliss, the Bliss lineup, basically. But even that's pretty troll, because you wouldn't get talks like this at Bliss because they're irrelevant. We don't need to have talks about the history of forks. Everybody already knows about it. We don't need to have talks about Goldie blocks. We already had Abla discussed. We already shipped it. It's done, like these guys are just living in the past. But imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, right? So it'll be very interesting to see in the VODs whether they explicitly say, oh, wait, we've been looking into the BCH guys and they've been doing all this kind of stuff, whether they acknowledge. I don't think that's likely. I think it will be a sort of unspoken cone of silence thing. Yet again, I feel like it's very unlikely that they will say it on the stream or in their talks or something. Maybe this history of forks one is going to have to acknowledge it. It'll also be interesting whether it's accurate or whether it's just like propaganda and cope or revisionist history, perhaps. But you had these talks which were sounding very BCH-esque, and then on top of that, they had some more talks about how layer 2s were kind of limited and reaching the end and finishing the day with where to next. So clearly it seems like the more progressive part of the BTC community, the non-ossifiers, the non-laser-eyes, the ones who want to do covenants and so forth, they are very, very strongly starting to trend in the direction of BCH without admitting that that's what they're doing. What do you make of this, George? Did this make you laugh like it did me?
Yeah, I don't really follow the BTC guys as much. The guys that's trying to make changes on Bitcoin happen, like the OpCat and all that stuff. But I hear of some of it like through your show and on Twitter and things. But yeah, you're right. Like Goldie blocks, that sounds very big block kind of topic. How are they gonna? Unless the idea of Goldie blocks is like limiting the block size even further to like 300 kilobytes. I don't know. So I don't know too much about that. That's probably, like you say, a subset of BTC guys trying to actually build on BTC, and they're having the same issues that the big blockers had, and that's why the big blockers had to fork off. So I'm guessing they're just gonna run into walls.
But do you get the sense, for me, it's been so fascinating to watch. It's not unexpected exactly, because I knew exactly how it would play out, but it's just so interesting that at the time that I started this show, and still to this day, occasionally you have the odd person, BCH is dead, these shitcoiners, blah, 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 it's all useless, the prices crash, you're idiots, you don't know anything, you just failed everything, you're all incompetent, etc., right? And then year by year by year, we've seen more and more like, wait a second, these guys were maybe onto something. And as the BCH scene ramps up, like success speaks louder than anything, right? We're producing all this good tooling. We're producing all these useful apps. The wallets are getting better. The community is growing, right? Our events are getting bigger. We've got cooler and cooler stuff that they have to be watching. They are definitely watching that and saying, oh shit, why don't we have that? And then as soon as you ask that, the real answer is they have to go back to the history and dig through all the propaganda and lies that they were told, believed, promoted themselves, basically. But we're getting to the point now at which they still won't really say it. A little bit, it's like, the BCH guys are kind of up to stuff. But how can you do a day of talks like this? I like, okay, so my question is, do you expect BCH to be overtly mentioned or discussed in these kind of talks, or do you think they'll try and dodge around the edges,
I honestly don't know. Probably they. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough of the people speaking there, to know.
Well, because it's Jamison Lop. Oh, yeah, man. That's why it doesn't get any better than this. Jamison Lop, who we have had called out before on this show, right? For his attempts to dunk on the BCH community and, the price has gone down, Roger Ver, I told you so, etc. Even though then it actually, he tried to call out the BCH community for being down year over year, and then the price surged in the last 5 days, and actually BCH outperformed BTC. But anyway, regardless, he is the one giving this talk about Goldie blocks. I mean, who knows? That's just a title. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, in general, they're all about, layer 2 solutions and not increasing block size. So I don't know what this Goldie blocks is all about.
Jet, what do you think? Do you have a prediction? Are we going to see BCH get mentioned, or is it going to be skirted around? Is somebody going to get a question in like, so have you looked into what the BCH guys are doing?
I think that if BCH does get mentioned, it'll probably be from someone like Reardon Code. But I suspect what's more likely to happen is they're going to like call out BSV and be like, well, we can't just use like massive blocks. That's never going to work. And they will completely sweep BCH under the rug.
Yeah, the classic. And I wrote an FAQ about that specifically as well this week, because just it's so funny to me still that BSV and BCH split in 2018. It wasn't even that long. It was between August of 2017 and November 2018. So what, like 15 months, which in the grand scheme of things is relatively short period, that the BCH and BSV community were kind of in this group together until they figured it out, right? So it's now been 7 years, at least 6.5, 7 years since BSV was at all involved in what's going on in BCH, but they still love to pretend like there's no difference, or that the nonsense and crazy stuff, the Craig Wright stuff, etc., they all still want to conflate it.
You know what's I think is funny about all this? Like, I remember when the fork happened, people would always be like, oh, it's like a toxic relationship, like people just have to leave. And I feel like maybe, we were a little emotional in the first relationship, but now we've cleaned up our act. We've got a good paying job. We've got all these like supportive circles. Our friends and family are all doing good. Like, we're a catch right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, come and join us, guys, anytime. You can have talks about the history of forks in Goldie. But that's as well why it's just so ironic is I feel like the morale of the BCH community is obviously just skyrocketing at this point, because there's no greater vindication than imitation, right? They're trying to do what we're doing, or at least we'll see in these. And it's not even just the block size stuff as well, too. It's like the op codes and the tooling and everything else. Anyway, so they're going to be having this talk and trying to sort it out, or this conference and trying to sort it out amongst themselves. But then the irony is it's still not enough. Even if they somehow figure this all out, which they're not going to do, there's going to be more delays. There's going to be more disruption. Even if they can all get on the same page, which they've sucked at, then how are they going to convince all the ossifiers to go along with this? There's just layer after layer after layer problem. Then they have to undo all the like Taproot stuff. They can't even just lift our work because they've fucked up their chain with Segwit and Taproot, which we told them was terrible. But like, it's just disaster after disaster after disaster. But even if you credit them all of that, it's like this is like a Bliss lineup from 2020 or 2021, which Bliss didn't exist at that time. But BCH is now, in 2025, planning out 2026, 2027. It's just anyway, it's just amusing, obviously, but it's like, at what point does the dam break? At what point do the first people just start switching sides and saying we got it wrong? How much longer can they keep coping and pretending?
It's all got to do with the price. If the price starts going up, more people will switch, and which will cause more people to switch. That's literally the only thing. So yeah, as long as the price is low, it's gonna be like this.
True, very, very, very true. For something's got to trigger that. Then
Yep.
there has to be some. Well, that's why I keep saying, like, we just need one killer app or one viral thing or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's all going in the right direction. But I think in 20 years time, when they're writing the history books, it'll be like, and then so-and-so launched and suddenly, boom, that was a banger. And then everyone converted and pretended that they hadn't been against BCH the whole time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's you need a lot more to actually be happening for people to notice, because the negative effect of the price is so big. But once that does start turning because of actual, fundamental building and usefulness, things will just like change very quickly, I think. But yeah, I mean, above, like another component on top of all of this is just like the general crypto scene. Like if crypto is at the start of a bull market or at the end of a bull market, so there's lots of factors involved as well with where things go. Maybe something happens and all of crypto crashes now, and then maybe after, maybe that's a trigger, but not immediately. Maybe after that, maybe the opposite happens. Maybe crypto just like steadily goes up, but then people start realizing, stuff building on Bitcoin Cash is actually, working. And then, so yeah, there's multiple scenarios. Don't know which one is going to happen, but like I said, I guess I'm betting on the long term on Bitcoin Cash. Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting to the point that you don't really have to be betting on the long term. You can be betting on the medium term at this point, okay?
Yeah.
4 years
That's what
ago,
I've been
5 years
thinking as
ago.
well. It's just time just goes by.
Yeah, but like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you had to have quite a bit of faith. You had to think, okay, that was cash tokens was just a pipe dream. Nobody had thought of ABLA, the VM limits, all those upgrades hadn't happened. XCC had split off. There's plenty of ability to say, oh, well, maybe there'll be more splits. Maybe, maybe things will keep declining. There was not really any BCH promotional stuff. There was no BCH podcast. There was no Fiendish and Friends. There was no GP spaces. There was no BCH Bull. There was no, I don't know, nothing. Like there was some stuff. I was okay. It's not like just completely empty, but relative to where we are today and how the crypto industry has changed in the meantime, now you don't have to be betting on BCH to be amazing in 5 years. I think you can look at it today and be like, in 2 years, there's already more than enough foundations, that you can see in 2 years, this is going to be banging, basically, right?
Yeah. I think like all the crazy things you can actually do with cash tokens and smart contracts on a UTXO chain that scales. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be built, and it takes time to build things. So yeah, I'm definitely positive, but I think it. Oh, I don't know.
Still
there's
needs
multiple
a while to
scenarios.
cook.
Yeah. This. It's going to take a time for these to unlock the true potential. Will take a lot more time, I think. Just because companies take time to get started. Like we need more things like general protocols, more companies like that, or like Petaka.
Yeah.
Once you get more and more of those, and they start feeding into themselves and hiring devs to actually build these stuff, that's also like on a logarithmic scale, gonna build up momentum. And I think that's still gonna take more time. But that's not being said that in the short term the narrative might change. So there's two separate things. But yeah, I don't know.
Feeling good.
I don't know. Trying to guess the future is very hard. Like, I really don't know. It might very well be like, you wake up one morning and it's just like, oh, okay, the price is now 10 times higher because some Elon Musk or something said something about Bitcoin Cash. No, not Elon Musk, but some big corporate company says, oh no, they're going to use Bitcoin Cash as an underlying system to keep track of payments, of decentralized payments, and then it's just like 10x.
Yeah, you never know who's watching, or even like BCH ETF. Litecoin got some big pumps out of
that as well.
Rumored to be the ETF or whatever, and that hasn't really come around to BCH yet, but it will. You never really know who's watching, right? That's the whole point. Is we're just building in public and just doing a good job day after day after day. Like I say, people don't notice that you're there; they notice that you're still there, right? And it's starting to get to that kind of stage. Like BCH is still there. In fact, it's so still there that It's now clearly front running everything that the BTC guys, the more switched on ones, are trying to do, even if they won't admit it. That's where I feel it's more of a, you say the price, you're right about the price, but I feel like the price matters to all the people, in the broader crypto scene, right? Because they're not paying attention. All those ones, those speculator channels and whatever, they're not paying attention. But these BTC guys, it's ego. It's nothing to do with the price. They can still hold their BTC if they're worried about the BCH price, but they just won't say it out loud. Like, well, we saw it a little bit with Vlad and Paul Storts. They were starting to be like, oh, man, is this what these guys are doing? Anyway, that's enough of that. So if you want to be at a conference that's like several years outdated of what's happening in BCH, you can check out Op Next. And if you want to be at the future of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., you can come to Bliss in Slovenia, 13th, 15th May. Like I've been shilling every show. We're doing pretty good on ticket sales. It's looking good at the moment. You're going to be there, right? You told me before the show.
I'm planning on being there. Still need to buy airplane tickets and plan all of it and stuff. Time's running out a bit, so I need to get going with that. It sounds really exciting. Sounds like a nice country to visit as well.
Oh, it's amazing. It's really beautiful. And when you're there sort of in the evenings, you can go out into the town a little bit. Like Ljubljana is not a massive place, but there's just the river and there's some restaurants. You pay in BCH, some of them by the side of sort of the old town, and it's all like these little like cobbled kind of streets. It's like, you feel like you're in a fairy tale, or at least I did when I was there. There's just something about the magic of these older European cities and stuff, especially the ones like Slovenia that maybe haven't been so much modernized, or they're not a really large urban center with tons of advertising and etc. No, it's very old school like that, and it just has a bit of a magic about it. So yeah, I really recommend obviously everyone to come, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. It will be great. I think the amount of stuff that we had come out of last year was also like a lot of different collaborations happened, and things just behind the scenes, people linking up to do different stuff. A lot of the ideas that were discussed there, we're now starting to see kind of come to fruition, and it's only going to ramp up faster and faster year on year. So anyway, all that is to say, yeah, go to Bugs.cash, buy your ticket, and get involved. Okay, community comment of the week is from Elon Musk, who was digging up some magic money computers in the US government. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Me about is one of the things you told me about is what you call magic money computers at the Treasury. So tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that that the government computers like all talk to each other, they synchronize, they add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. There's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
One would think. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some at, there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
So there you have it. This is all obviously good news for not only BCH, but just the general awareness of the world is slowly waking up. I mean, it's crazy. You think 5 or 10 years ago, you could barely get somebody to talk about inflation. What's inflation? I don't know about that. 2%, blah, blah, blah. The Economist. It was all this mystical woo-woo stuff that happened up on a mountain. So trying to explain to somebody that, Bitcoin was going to be the future because it had an actual limited supply and you weren't going to get endlessly scammed by the Federal Reserve System. They were just like, what are you talking about? What planet are you on? But we've come so far in terms of, obviously, with the influence of cryptocurrency, but with the world in general and the recent Doge audits as well, too, that people are like, wait, where does all this money come from? Who's the one who gets to create it? And what do they spend it on? And how does that impact everyone else with rising prices through inflation? This is just great stuff to see. And that's also why I'm so bullish on the second half of this decade, right? Because people are just going to flood into crypto as the problem keeps getting worse with inflation, which it's going to keep happening, right?
Yeah, I think crypto is here to stay. Like, it's just some don't know in what form yet. Well, I'm betting on
we do.
cash, but okay, we do, but trying to imagine the future and how it would work. But yeah, it's just like, even like anyone paying someone, why, if you have the choice, would you go through the system that is manipulated if you had an alternative? So just with that logic, because crypto is cheaper and less risky, it's not gonna, well, depends if the price go, if once it stabilizes in the future, like I think some crypto payments is going to be the future of payments. Even if you look at something like AI, if you just tell AI, build something that transfers value, mine stuff on some asteroid and sell it to Earth, I don't know, whatever. It would probably try and look for a payment system that works, that it could integrate with, and what would it use? Probably crypto. So yeah.
Are you seeing that element of people waking up, though, to the broader issues around money and all that kind of thing? Do you notice that in comparison to when starting with Bitcoin in 2013? It's not like talking to a brick wall about all this stuff anymore.
I don't know. I don't really think of it like that, but I think more of the OG people that were involved with Bitcoin actually understood that better than the people like involved with crypto now. So
yes,
on average, but like the scene has changed, the crowd has changed. So crypto in general has become something that it didn't start out as. And I am bullish on Bitcoin Cash to eventually bring it back to what it was intended for once all this crazy, just random casino pumping gets depleted. I mean, we've had the presidents shoulder coins now. What's next? How is this pump and dump crypto culture going to reach its next level of investors to scam and rug, and I don't know. So I think eventually we'll get there. But like I said, I don't know if there's just first going to be like an implosion of crypto and then something comes up. You can't really, I don't know. I always sound a bit negative because I guess I try and be realistic. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe crypto just plugs along and eventually the crappier projects gets less and the actual ones like start shining. Maybe everyone gives up on crypto and it just like starts, Bitcoin goes like down by 90% or something, and everyone's like, no, crypto's dead. And then in that scenario, it might take longer for things to recover. But yeah.
So how's it going to get scammy? How's it going to get even more scammy? I've got the answer for you right here. Meme of the week. It comes in 3 parts, okay? Part 1. Unusual Whales tweeted, DoorDash and Klarna have signed a deal where customers can choose to pay for food deliveries in interest-free installments. So instead of just paying $10 for your burrito meal, you can instead get it $2.50 a month for the next 4 months, okay? Now, the reaction to this, which was a pretty common take from Bucco Capital, is why stop here? Hear me out. A single buy now, pay later contract for a burrito is incredibly risky. Anyone willing to pay for a burrito in installments can't be trusted to pay their debt. But what if we pulled the payments together? The risk would go away, end quote. So this is a troll for people who don't really know the context of the mortgage bonds in America, the subprime mortgages that led to the housing crisis. The idea was, if we just get a lot of people who are not really able to pay their mortgage and they're a bit risky, if we just put them all in a big stew or a CDO, then problem solved, which was until the whole system kind of blew up in the end, right? So if you want to see more about this, you can watch the movie The Big Short, which I highly recommend, probably top 10 movies I've ever seen in my life. Fantastic movie, although it is right up my alley. But I think everyone can enjoy it. All the actors do a great job. It has Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, some other like famous guys in it. It's great. It's really, really good. And then the part 3 of this, then the actual meme part is referencing again The Big Short, and it's from Jake Tropolis, who said, quote, "What do you mean your orders? We're talking about one DoorDash order, aren't we?" And then second quote, "I had 3, a burger from Five Guys, fries from McDonald's, and a 20-ounce Slurpee from 7-Eleven. And then it's screenshots of Steve Carell in the scene where he goes and talks to a stripper who tells him that she has 5 houses and a condo, and he's like getting this lap dance, which he kind of doesn't actually want to be receiving, while discovering that this naive stripper has been propping up the housing bubble that is going to blow up the entire financial system. It's a fantastic scene in a fantastic movie, and if you know that movie, you'll get it. But this is just really kind of driving the point home. As with all comedy, it's really just making a small thing to the extreme, ridiculous. But that's what it's going to be, right? This is the next scam. If the average person is now in a situation where they can't afford to just straight up buy a burrito, they need to package it out in installments so that predatory food companies can prey on people who are struggling with their cost of living as inflation just destroys their life. This is crazy, isn't it? This is the exact conditions for another kind of financial meltdown, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I don't have too much to add, but yeah.
Have you seen The Big Short?
I think I watched part of it, so I didn't watch the whole thing, I think. But yeah, it always looks, I don't know, it gets crazier and crazier until everything just falls apart in the end.
Well, that's just when you get like, this is just unthinkable, I guess, is what I'm saying, that we're in a world now where, like 15 years ago, you couldn't have solved this type of thing. There was the Great Financial Crisis, which just created a lot of resentment among the population, but it also created a sense that, the average person doesn't really know what they're doing, right? They can't be trusted with their own money and their own financial situation, So there was just more consolidation into the banks and the governments. But then since then, because we had the Wall Street bets stuff, which was this kind of decentralized social media fueled financial activism, then it's kind of like, plus the rise of crypto, it's kind of put finance a little bit more back in the hands of the people. Although as the situation has got worse, like, you couldn't have pitched this kind of multi-installment financialized products for takeaway food 15 years ago wouldn't have flown on so many levels. They would have been like, the average person is not going to understand multi-payments for their burrito. It's so pointless. Why can't they just pay for the burrito? I don't know. Jet, what do you make of this, right? This is just crazy that this is where the world is getting to, right?
Yeah, but this is already like building off of craziness, right? If you said 10 years ago that, well, maybe not 10 years ago, let's say 15, that you could get personal taxis for each and every piece of junk food item that you want delivered to your house, right? I saw a meme probably a month or two ago that was like, is inflation really that bad, or are you getting a personal taxi for your $5 burrito again? I feel like this is building on that.
But I mean, it's a weird way of saying it though, right? Because it's like, as time improves and since technology is on an exponential, people's lives should be getting better. So the argument that your life is better than it was, therefore inflation is not a problem, is kind of a simplistic way of looking at it, because it's like, no, your life should be better than it used to be. The question is how much? Is it only a little bit better because you're getting wrecked by inflation? Or is it a lot better because, well, it's not a lot better. Basically, people are like, have we really made things better despite all this technology?
Yeah, I don't mean to minimize the fundamental problem, but I think like the problem is people's awareness of a situation, right? Like, well, not entirely, but in a lot of the, like if you're, I don't know. I know people that have a higher income than me that complain about budgeting groceries. And it's like, you're budgeting wrong then. Like something, your priorities are out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's people can always, you can live on ramen, right? Like you just can do that. And some people like to complain like, oh no, the cost of living, etc., when they just, for their personal life circumstances, either have never been in a situation that genuinely required that, to discover like how you can live on very little as is physically, biologically possible. It's even socially and culturally possible to live on very low amounts of money as well. If you have friends that have also been through that, then they will understand, we're not going to the $50 movie or the this or the that, like, because we're just scraping by it. If you've been in that situation or you have friends in that situation or anything, you know what I'm talking about. So some people are just whinging about inflation with a bit disconnected, a bit privileged, right? But this kind of product, right? If you pitched this 10 years ago, the first thing would have been the average consumer is not going to understand interest-free installments on their like loans.
I think most
that's
people
become
don't even
normalized now.
That their credit's not their money, right? Like they're just like, oh, I have access to this money and I can do whatever I want.
Just spend whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, people have a terrible track record of understanding like interest payments from loan sharks and stuff like that. Oh, what do you mean I have to pay X amount? How did this add up out of nowhere? Yeah.
I've always gone into credit knowing that I wanted to game it. Like I don't want debt-based money. But just the idea to me that like I would ever pay interest is insane. Like I just make sure that if I use my card, it's paid in full every time. If I don't have the money to do that, I can't buy the thing. Like it seems like a very simple rule to have to keep me out of like these stupid situations.
I just like that this is getting memed. Like the reaction to this was massive in terms of people, because so many people, as the problem is as well too, it's one of those jokes that's so obvious that everyone and their mum tries to make the same joke. And you're like, the first time it's funny, but after the 50th guy does his little, it's the Big Short, haha, with burritos, you're just kind of like, bloody Jesus. Like you could have just left it at the first 49 people who already said it. But even if this is not going to create the next financial meltdown, I just feel like it's an indictment of the state of the economy, that this is where companies are reaching to try and generate more. Because this is like a gam. If it's an interest-free loan spread out over time, that on its face is a losing proposition to the company offering it. That's economics. So why are they doing this? It's to like tempt in more. It's like a gambling model, it's kind of like first one is free, we get them in the house at the roulette wheel and then we make money on the drinks that they buy once they're addicted. It's the same thing. If you're going to be making, the follow-up to this will be you get your burrito spread out over 4 weeks because you couldn't afford it over one week. But the idea will be, but now you have more quote unquote money to spend on eating out, right? So now you're going to get DoorDash 4 times as frequently because you're not going to understand that the rest of the bill is going to come due in the future, or there's going to be an upsell somewhere in it, right? I don't know. It's just, the preying on the average financially unsavvy person is getting to insane levels. But that's where we are in 2025. So hopefully crypto can save us from this mess, or at least BCH can. I don't know about crypto, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, message to the community. Getting towards the end of the show here. George, you know how it goes. What does the BCH community need to hear?
I think I already spoke a bit about that kind of stuff. Let's see. Well, I guess just keep building stuff and
Stay optimistic. Try Bugs.cash, right?
Yeah, play Bugs.cash.
And if people do it and they try it, they can obviously send you feedback and everything, right? And I'm sure you're...
Discord channel. You can see it on the game on the front page at the bottom somewhere. There's a link to a Discord, so there's a place to log bugs.
Yes.
And give feedback and stuff.
Amazing. Okay, all right. Shout out to our FundMe contributors. I will be starting another FundMe, but I haven't got around to it yet. So we're just giving credit to previous round, Majamali Marcelo, founding father, Molecular, the show we love, Erdogan Talk, economics writer, Milton Friedman, at Cash Stamps, Keep Calm and Bitcoin Cash, and Emergent Reasons. Please experiment with new ways to get you, Fiendish, Callisti, in front of some serious media spotlights. And then we have the supporters. Thank you to our donators. Thank you to our patrons, Ricky and HB. Thank you to our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Start guide, FAQ, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new, listen to episode 85 and try Selene Wallet at selene.cash, which you can use with Bugs.cash and sweep the funds that you have earned just by you just use the scan button and just scan the QR code on that cash out or withdrawal screen, and it will just put the money straight into your wallet. That integration was a big deal at the time we did it, but it still works beautifully. Okay, final shout outs. Where can people find more of you and anything else you want them to pay attention to, George?
More of me. I guess I have that Twitter account. I think it's at Kreeflever. And
how do you spell that earlier for the
okay, Kreeflewer.
Okay.
It's crayfish liver in Afrikaans.
Perfect.
And that Discord channel that I just talked about, which you can find on Bugs.cash, https://bugs.cash. And shout out, that colleague of mine that I talked about, or ex-colleague that also worked on the game, he actually has some other projects as well. He worked on glimpse.cash, where you can upload videos and get people to pay in BCH to view them. And you can also do some free streaming from there. You can do streaming via glimpse.cash. So check that out. And like I said earlier, shout out to Jabber and Devin, who and David Shatek, and you. I think you guys all donated some BCH to the faucet. And if you like the project and you see the reserves are low, just donate some. That would be appreciated. keep it running with lower amounts is fine. That way I can't drug you either. And I think that's it. Thanks for having me on the BCH podcast.
No, I really enjoyed it. Jet, do you have any shout outs this week?
When I sat down to do this show, I had one in mind and I was like, oh, I better not forget. I've forgotten.
All right, brilliant. We'll save it for next week then. And my shout out goes to, I didn't realize Glimpse.cash was still up. I know it had been around a while ago, but you can go on there, add them back on the block size limit. You can watch feeding wild animals. Like, it's just sometimes like kind of funny to see what the internet turns up here. Full Metal Panic looks like some kind of anime that I don't know anything about. So yeah, Who Killed Bitcoin? That's a banger. That seems like that's uploaded there too as well. So yeah, check out Glimpse.cash. Seems like a bit of, a little bit unmaintained recently, but it still exists. And yeah, maybe it'll find its feet. A few more people checking it out. Maybe we should put some of the podcast episodes up there. I think
he fixed up some things there recently as well. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah. I saw him booking some changes into the repo. We've got a shared repo.
All right. And my shout out to Blockspace Media as well for hosting the wannabe BCH conference. I cannot wait to check out those VODs and possibly review some of them on the show. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if BCH gets a mention or if it auspiciously doesn't. 2025 has been a pretty good year for BCH so far, so loving it. All right, thank you all for listening. Till next time.
I'm the tech that changes what society is. I am money, I create freedom, and I'm limited, so I know what my worth is. I don't ask how high the fee is. I don't open, verifiable blockchain. Hashes and transactions, I find in my process. I verify what I'm handed, I trust what's commanded. But under the surface, I feel berserk like a keyboard warrior that's suddenly wordless. Under the surface, was Satoshi ever like, yo, I don't wanna fight big banks. Under the surface, I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can be of service. A bug or a hack, a line in the stack that breaks the camel's back. What breaks the camel's back? It's both of the fees that'll never stop. Whoa, users that'll leave till we just go bump. Whoa, give it to BCH, their blocks got bigger, and all we got was this damn ticker. Who am I if I can't scale with the bull? If I fall to payments that are slow, and they just won't go. Whoa, fees that'll grow till it's ready to blow. Whoa, give it to Satoshi, blockchain is stronger. See the users throw away the dollar. Who am I if I can't verify it at all? If I falter under the surface, I hide my nerves and it worsens. I worry a central chain will hurt us. Under the surface, the miners will leave. They need fees, lighting will kill this. Under the surface, I think about the white paper. Can we somehow preserve it? Line up Maxis, yo, electronic gold blows. Who can try to stop it, tumbling?